Mariana and all people are here. I said it before. First of all, I'm also really grateful that we have all these people joining our events of Women in Sustainable Finance. You members, you participants, you make us feel so valuable by contributing, by being here, that we really contribute something which is needed. And Mariana, I would like to give you a warm welcome because I'm personally also really, really happy to have you as our guest speaker. Impact investments is such an interesting topic, and also a topic that we've learned from our members is really interesting. So they really want to learn, many members want to learn about the topic. For you, for me, I mean, you're one of the icons in Switzerland in impact investments, and that's why we are really, really happy that you're here. Before we start, for everyone, Mariana is really happy if it's going to be interactive. So please feel free to unmute yourself and also show yourself in the video in case you have any questions. So post your questions whenever you feel like it. And also if you feel comfortable doing that in the chat, you can feel it. You can give your questions in the chat and we will answer them on the spot. So I will not take much more of the time because I would like to give the floor to Mariana. Mariana, thank you for being here, and we're really, really keen to hear your personal story and your adventures in impact investments and to learn more from your experience. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Edith, for the invitation. And it's really a pleasure and an honor for me to be here and to have the possibility to speak about impact investing and impact management. I think also, Edith, with your Women in Sustainable Finance, that's really a great initiative, and I'm really happy to support it. And I think it's so important that also women, beside men, of course, play an active role. Yes, so impact investing requires impact management. That's the title I have chosen, and it's, you know, should get to the point that, in my opinion, it's a very much an interconnection between these two topics. It's not possible that I can go one slide further on, Edith.
Okay, then we have to see, because you have the opportunity to share your screen.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's.
Maybe you just, you know, you dissolve it and then you start doing it again. That should work.
Stoppen?
Yeah, you stop the screening and then you do the screening and then you share the screen again, and then we see how it works.
No, it doesn't work.
Mariana, you can try to click on the arrow on the left. There's an arrow.
Yes.
There's a right arrow, the one pointing to the right.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much. That's what we call, you know, this is what we call team efforts. Go ahead, Mariana.
Okay. Thank you so much. Here you have the overview, how I structured the webinar for today. I want to give a short introduction about SAIF, maybe also some words about my background, my story, then maybe some general remarks about impact investing. Then I would go one step further on to have some slides and remarks about impact management. And
R2.
Beg your pardon?
No problem. I would ask everyone, please mute your phones so that, or your mute yourself so that we don't have any background noises. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mariana.
Yes, and in the fourth part, I would talk about impact data, how we do at SAIF, how we do impact measurement and management, and I will show you insights to some different tools we have. And of course, at the end, the Q&A, but as Edith said, for me, it's very important. A lot of really experienced people are in the background or are participating here. And I'm really happy to also invite you to share your experience, your question, your remarks. So that's for me really fine. And I think that's in the opposite. I like that. Okay. Yes, that's a picture from our award ceremony in 2011. You see, I'm quite a little bit younger in these days. We are also in the environment of a garage. That was really the early years. And yes, as we discussed it before, Edith, that was at this time, you know, some people told me, yes, Mariana, you want to start about this social entrepreneurship, impact entrepreneurship, you're a little bit crazy, that doesn't exist in Switzerland. It's only maybe a third world problem, but of course not in Europe. And yes, but I am persistent. And I thought, no, I have to go that way. And I think what was really for me inspiring to collaborate with all the really motivated people, with the young people, and for them also, they are here on they have the floor for the first time, and that they have really, that somebody understands, you know, that you can have both. You can have impact and you can at the same time be financial and business-wise successful. And that was really very also inspiring for me at the beginning. And of course you have to, it is like a roller coaster. You have hurdles, but I think this spirit, you know, in the core, that was driving me, myself, and the team, and all the whole ecosystem. I was started with the goal, you know, to really professionalize this ecosystem. And I must say, after 10 years, it happened a lot, you know, that's really amazing. And that really makes me happy. And I hope the drive or the growth is even going steeper in the future. From my background, I was a professor at the University of Applied Science in Lucerne. I teach or have also research project or study programs in social innovation, social entrepreneurship, impact management, CSR. But then I realized that at that time, at least in Switzerland, nobody who had, you know, the mission, this double mission, you could say, from the younger ones in the startup ecosystem, nobody was supported, and it really made me angry. So I started with SAIF, and yes, we had our ups and downs, of course, but we are still going up. And 1 year ago, I co-founded SAIF Invest. That's, you could say, our impact investing arm, together with my co-founder Eric Giesinger. He's coming more a little bit, you could say, from the traditional investing background, but I think with our collaboration, that's really a co-creation situation, which is really super for both of us. And we try really to make our steps also in the impact investing fields. I am also have some active mandates. For example, I'm in the steering committee of Bridge. There we provide, I think about, I'm not quite sure, but I think about 15 million per year for to really bring promising tech impact startups on their way. I'm in the jury member of Geber-Trüff First Venture, and also I just yesterday had a meeting with Bundesrat Ueli Maurer. That was funny in Bern, because I'm an expert in the Green FinTech Network, and we had a meeting to discuss, I think, about 16 points of a Green FinTech action plan for Switzerland. And there are also a lot of hurdles, but at least it seems, you know, that Switzerland wants really to go one step further on in the sustainable fintech field. And let's see what's really is getting implemented. But yeah, hopefully we see some movement. Here you see a little bit the ecosystem we collaborate with. It's all over Europe. I think it's also typical that we work with large corporates. We work with impact VCs. We work, for example, Clearly So, it's one of the first one in UK. We work also with impact investing networks as Gin, Tonic, EPFL. Yes, so I think, or with startup, Tech for Impact startup accelerators, Norskin, or Maase, for example. So I think this shows, I think, quite well how we are positioned, you know, in the ecosystem between different stakeholders, because I do think it is important that this collaboration, this network is really important to build up a vibrant ecosystem. Here you see a little bit our growth. Yes, I think we can say in impact is in our DNA. Everything what we are doing is impact at its core. You see that in the last 10 years, more than 2,000 startups applied for our award. Of course, we all read their business plans. I can also say the finalists, also as an example from the award, they have, the finalists have funded, not all of them were successful, of course, but some of them were successful, and they had collected more than 40 million funding. We have also other capacity building programs. So for example, the Impact Academy, or we run accelerators, or also online programs on the capacity building side. And there also, of course, we see a lot of startups, mainly from Switzerland, but also from Europe. And also in our angel network, we are active since the last 3 years. Here you have some numbers from our Tech for Impact Award of this year. We get more than 300 applications. You see 267 were eligible. And then we had the discussion to select the finalists under a pre-selected number of 40. This year we had 36% from Switzerland. That's in average, we have a little bit more. It's in average, it's more 40–45%, but I think I'm happy about these numbers. Especially we are happy that we have a lot of applications from the Nordics. A lot of innovation, impact innovation is going on there. And also France with 10%. We never had so much applications from France, and it's also, I think, a little bit shows the development there, and that's really, for us, we like it very much. You have here also an overview about the tech vehicles, the impact areas. For example, main impact areas are responsible consumption. Of course, climate is an important topic, but also sustainable cities, industry innovation, and infrastructure. And from the development phase, most of them are proof of markets, maybe 1/3 proof of concept, and the small ones are then growth and scaling. And it shows a little bit, you know, the stage where they are in. Normally in this phase, for us, for the impact investing vehicles, it's too early to invest. It's maybe pre-seed, seed. It could be Series A, but normally not. But maybe in 1 or 2 years, you know, when they are successfully grow, then it's interesting, and we have already built some relationship with them, and then we are very happy to see that they are really successful in the funding rate. Here you have an overview about the finalists of this year. These are the 10 ones. It's a broad range of companies. We have, for example, circle manufacturing processes in the clothing industry is one with fabrics. We have a digital learning platform that makes learning sign languages more accessible with Sign Lab. Or we have, for example, with reefs, they rebuilding damages coral reefs using their developed modular reef system. So that's quite a broad diversity. And when you are interested to know which 4 of them are the winners of this year Tech for Impact Award, so I invite you to our award ceremony. It takes place June 10th. We will have for some small cohort, we have a live event, but for most of the people, we are streaming the event, and you can find the invitation on our website, and would be happy when you join us to see who are the winners of this year Tech for Impact Awards 2021. Okay, so much to SAIF, but now more about, I would like to really dive into impact investing topics. You all of course know these 17 sustainable goals, but now when we look to the financials, when we ask the question how much money is needed in the impact investing field to fulfill these 17 SDG goals, then it's estimated that $4 trillion are needed per year to solve these SDGs. And in fact, in reality now, currently we have 1.4 trillion US dollars annually, which are invested in this impact investing field. And even so, it is a number, but of course there is a gap. And maybe in the first, you are the first thinking about the topic, you think, oh no, that's never feasible. But when we compare it, you know, to the other really large financial numbers we have, and for example, when we compare it to the global GDP, then of course it's 3% of the global GDP, which should be invested in the impact investing field. Or when we take the global capital market, 1% of the global capital market should be invested in impact investing, and then we have the potential, the option, the possibility, at least from the impact investing side, to really reach these goals. And I think, you know, when we see this when we can compare it, you know, these numbers in this framework, I think it should be feasible. So that's maybe when you first look at the numbers, then think you never will reach it. But I think these numbers should give us hope that we really have to go on in this field and really to be active. And I think everybody of us is needed, that we can reach that, and should be reachable, I think. Okay, I think most of you are professionals, so I think we can go through these slides faster. Of course, I think you know that impact is the third dimension, you could say. It's an addition, you know, to the normal financial return and the risk return theory, and it's a third dimension. And what is of course also important, that it's not only of course, we have a lot of pressing needs in emerging countries, and there should be money is really invested in this field. But also, I think in Europe, in the developed market, we still have quite a lot challenges to solve, and that's also important that we have both market, that we have targeting both markets. When we now go to the spectrum of the capital market, and that's more, you know, from the venture side, from the impact venture side, maybe you are also familiar with that. Of course, we have this continuum of, on one hand side, you have the charity and it's only impact, and on the other hand side, you have the classical financial investments where you just look to the financial numbers and nothing else. But I think that's really good, in my opinion, that there is movement in the field, not only in the impact investing field, but also, of course, ESG. The ESG topic is nowadays everybody is talking about ESG. However, I think it's also important to have a closer look, because what is behind this ESG is negative ESG, positive, and yes, that's a lot of I think a lot of discussion stuff there. But I think it's also important to know, and for me that's really that is important, to make a differentiation that ESG is not impact investing. So impact investing is really one step further on. And also in the impact investing field, you can differentiate. You have maybe profiles which are impact first, and then you look to the financial surplus. You have the opposite, first to the financial side and then to the impact side. And you can have this middle profile, you could say, this balanced impact, where you're really looking for the sweet spot, where the impact and the social surplus is, or the value is on the same importance. It's not a trade-off. And I think here in this impact embedded in the business model approach, that's, for example, where we at SAIF, here we are positioned, the companies we are looking for, that's the profile of our companies. When you go more to the public market, that's three different profiles. That's from the impact management project. here again, and I really think it's important that we are very clear when we talk about sustainable investment, ESG or impact investing, that we are crystal clear where we are positioned. Do we speak about the profile A, that's negative ESG screening? You avoid harm. So it's you know, you could say it's a little about, it's mainly about mitigating risk. Do we talk about the profile B, that's the positive ESG rating? There, you know, in with the how dimension. So you take also the different stakeholders in consideration. Maybe you think about you have about your employees, about maybe the diversity of the team. That's very important, and that's a first important step. But when we go to the profile C, and that's here we really speak about impact investing, here that's really another mind shift where you talk about contribution to solutions. And here you talk about what are you doing? And here you start with questions how you could, for example, contribute to solve an SDG goal XY with a special business model. I think that's really one step further on, and here we should differentiate where we are positioned when we speak about an impact investing. Here you have a little bit more the description of these different profiles, and of course you have to have a closer look, but for me that's it is really not the same, and it's not the same when you look at the data, it's not the same when you look at the measurement, and it's something completely different when you have a negative ESG profile, a company with a profile A, and a C, which is really into impact investing. And I'm really sometimes get upset, you know, when people who maybe don't understand too much about the topic and they just mix it up, because I think with this mixture, you know, that's not good, you know, for the whole development, because you can't, it's not the same. Simply, it's not the same. And here again, you know, you have an overview. It's a little bit another graph about these different profiles, and that's from the public market. And again, you know, it's when you are with a C, the contribution to solution, that would be impact investing. It's another positioning when you talk about negative ESG, that's the profile A, where you just avoid harm to mitigate risks. So that's, and of course, that's the impact topic, the sustainability topic, it's another one. And I think you should be precisely where you are positioned. Okay, I think I would like move a little bit, when this okay is for you, one step further on to the impact management. So when we now really focus on impact investing, impact management, what is it about? How I would also be very interested how you do that. I can show you how we do it. Basically, our all the methodology and our structure approach is based on the impact management project. I think we can say that's a leading industry standard, and it's also connected, you know, with other frameworks and indicator systems. And basically, we have 5 different dimensions. We ask when in regards to the impact, what, who, how much, contribution, and risk. I think one of the most important is, of course, what and who. What is really the impact, and who are the beneficiaries of this impact? Then, of course, we have to ask how much in regard to scale, depth, duration. We have to think about the contribution. Would the impact, you know, happen anyway is it really this venture which really can make the contribution? And then of course risk is also a topic in the impact field. How much is the risk that you have maybe emission drift, or you simply not reached the goal you wanted to? And here it's just an example that maybe you know that already. I think here also for me it's very important that in the impact investing field we go one, or I think we have to go one step further on. It's nice everybody is putting, you know, as a communication tool is putting a SDG icon on the presentation. That's maybe the first step, but that's not enough, because as you may know, as a next step behind the SDGs, we have, you know, the differentiation of the different target. And then, for example, here are examples from the IRIS indicators. All these targets, you know, are connected to a huge set of IRIS indicators. Of course, you can also set your customized KPI sets. But I think it's really important to understand, when you go one step further on than marketing and communication in the impact investing field, and when we really talk about professional impact management, that's then we discuss that's another dimension. That's important. As for us, it's important to know that. And of course, maybe you know that as well. That's the theory of change, or the impact. Yes, the impact framework. We have, that's the first discussion that we, of course, discuss with the ventures about what is the input, what then is the output, the outcome, impact, and also really to think, is it really what they intended? Is the impact? Is it really, we go through this chain, to this theory of change, and really discuss it? Because sometimes when we really work with a startup, sometimes it can really change here, so that they have originally maybe intended, yeah, I think I have this and this impact, and then we go through this impact chain, and then they say, oh no, that's, maybe we have to adapt it a little bit, or maybe they see other impact goals they couldn't realize before. And so that's always, it's, you could say it's on the impact side, it's a little bit a strategic discussion. You think about your strategy, and that's and for most of them that's really very helpful. That's to have an in-depth discussion and really think about this different step, and really is it. And I think that's the base. Afterwards, you know, the what and who. And that is the really first important step to make. And then, of course, when we go to the next step, we make the analysis in the 5 dimensions I showed you before. Of course, we select indicators, status, and we make assessment and evaluation. But this impact management framework, it's the basic, you could say, from the methodology, and from the framework of indicators, data, and everything is, we are combine, you know, these different theories and methodologies which are out there. And now, very concrete, that's, as you know, our main focus, at least at the moment, is that we are working with impact startups. And when it comes to the topic of impact investing, we have different steps. I will show it. I will show the methodology or the tools in a minute. First, we do the impact assessment. That's according to these 5 dimensions. We make a rating. I'll show you afterwards. And of course, there we also, I must say, do it on the commercial side, because both dimensions are important for us, and so we can compare it also to other startups. Then we go one step further on. We do the impact due diligence. When in the impact assessment we see, okay, the criteria are okay, then we go make the next step. And then, you know, when the the impact investing decision is okay. That's a very differentiated process, of course. And then we do an impact report, and that's the basics to make the reporting afterwards. The impact report, when we have a full impact report to start the impact reporting, it's maybe a document, maybe it's in about 15 pages, something like that, where it's really crystal clear which are the indicators, what impact has to reach by when. So that's really, and for us it's important that it's also integrated in the you could say normal reporting, and that's for us as important as the business financial reporting that is also on the impact side. And really also it's basically it's the same as on the financial side, to really see the milestones, the KPIs which are set on the impact side. Is it reached, and where is the company standing? And it depends, of course, a little bit how it goes on, and do we have to, you know, adapt the strategy? Do we have make some interventions? So it's just, for us, it's just the same on the impact level. And when we go one step further on the impact data, that's here you have a little bit an overview what we are doing on the impact data in the background. We have this impact assessment tool. We have at the moment in about 1,000 impact startups which are assessed across all SDGs, across different stages, across different sustainable topics. And on one hand side, all our startups, not only the ones who are applying for investments, all startups, also for example from the award applications, they go through this assessment. And so we really have interesting, you know, database. What is very interesting at the moment that we are in discussion with other accelerators, with impact VCs, with family offices, that we can offer, of course, the service as well, because we see that this structure approach and also this comparison with this large database, it's a great help for them to really, to see where their applications, be it in a program or be it in an investment, impact investing situation, where are they impact-wise on the impact side? Because sometimes it's challenging for them. And so that's for us the first step, impact assessment. Now, when I speak from the impact investing side, then we do the impact due diligence. That's, of course, that's not standardized. That's on an individual base. There we have meetings, discussions with the startups, and we have really very targeted and customized. We will setting the impact target KPIs, and then of course the impact reporting, that's one step further on. And I will show you example. I think that's maybe easier. I show you the example from Surplus. That's a German startup. They have something like a food bank, and they take let's say another way around. That's a lot of food has some due date, and of course the real due date is another one which is on the package or on which is there, and so a lot of food get waste, you could say. And they have a huge data bank and behind it, and they can save with this delta. They can save a lot of food. They delivered it through an online service to the clients. They have also shops in Germany. So that is quite an interesting company. And for example, we are in discussion, or have been in discussion with them for fundraising a Series A round. And I can show you how this impact topic looks like in reality, you could say. Here is the impact assessment process. You see on the left side, we do the commercial assessment. We have there 7 different criteria, and you see beyond, you see the impact assessment, again 7 different criteria. We have a rating between 1 and 10, and of course it's very clear what a rating from a 1 or a 5 or a 7, what it means. Then we can show, you know, how is this company now rating in comparison to a group range. It can be in the same SDG, it can be in the sector, it can be in the same stage. So there, of course, we can, according to the variable indicators, we can show different pictures. And then we can also show the percentile within the peer group. I think that's quite interesting. And in this case, we see that on the commercial side, we had, I must say, in this case, you have to have maybe a closer look to the competitive side, because when we compare it, it's not a 6 is not bad, but when we compare it to the peers, it's at least a little bit below. And it's also interesting, you know, that the beneficiaries there, it was for us interesting also to have a closer look, because when we, and it's not, again, it's not, because for us it's even more interesting to have the comparison than the absolute rating. That's, in my opinion, more interesting. And then you see on the right side that there we have the graph, and in this case it's compared to, it's maybe compared to 15 or 20 companies. And for us, for example, we have the definition that it has on both sides, on the commercial side and on the impact side, it has to have at least a 6. And then we go one step further on, and then we go into the impact due diligence. And here you see just a snapshot how it could look like, such a impact DD. When we have here now, and you see on how much, of course, there we go much more in detail. What's, for example, when we discussed it before about the beneficiaries, what is the degree of change experienced by the beneficiaries? Here we have it very clear. Of course, here we go, and it's, of course, it's customized. As I said before, the average rating is 7, but here you go one step further on. And what is on this? What does it mean on the side of the food producer? What does it mean on the side of the consumer? And of course, we together with the startups, and sometimes also, of course, desktop research. Here we really go one step further on to have the numbers and to really set the targets afterwards. And of course, we do it not only with how much, we do it with all the dimensions I showed you before. Now, maybe 2 last projects I shortly want to introduce to you before we can hopefully have an interesting discussion with you. We started to think about applying our approach, which I can say is successful in the impact venture field. We have really a lot of promising collaboration at the moment, and I think we will start programming it because we have so much data at the moment that we really have to go one step further on, and it's huge interest, I must say, because for a lot of people, they say, yes, we are interested, for example, in this assessment tool, but we don't want to do it ourselves. And so for us, that's, and for us, it's also important to bring, you know, some really impact data in the impact investing field, not just a little bit discussing about SDGs. So that's really makes us really happy. And here, some asset manager always approached us and said, yeah, but isn't it possible that you also can apply your approach in the listed equity field? And yes, we had a lot of discussions, and of course, it's another dimension. And nevertheless, we did the first testings, and I can show it here. For example, that was the first testing we recently made. We had 10 companies, and we get the data from some asset manager from Credit Suisse, and of course we took really the successful ESG rated companies, and it's also important, maybe it's here, we say it's impact aligned. It's not here. I think we have to really be very careful, but of course we had all the data from this company, and then we had a closer look and rated them based on our methodology, and that was quite interesting. So we had a framework where we said, okay, we have on the one hand side, we have the ESG rating, we have in impact aligned discussions, we speak about impact potential, and we have the impact potential dimension. And it was, of course, not surprising. These are all companies which are very good on the ESG rating, and of course, that's we call them more the leaders. They are in the leader field, and of course, with these ratings, it was not surprisingly to say that it was also on the, not only ESG, it was only in the impact field. It was a differentiation. You see it here, but they were more successful, and I think it was quite promising. And for us at the moment, I can be transparent. We want to make the next step. We are in discussion or looking for asset manager where we maybe could test this approach with maybe 50 companies, because in discussions we saw also that maybe companies which are not so successful in the impact rating, it could be that in the future with the impact potential, it could be that they have potential. So yeah, we are in discussion there, and let's see. I know maybe half a year, I know more, but that's a little bit behind our curtains what we are doing, and hopefully we find solutions. And yeah, we are in discussions with potential partners, and that could be really interesting. And then last but not least, of course, we have Tech for Impact investment opportunity vehicle, where we are focusing on Tech for Impact. I think that was clear from before, where we are situated. We are in this sweet spot between impact and financial returns, and we are currently in the fundraising phase, and it's clear here. I may not say more due to FINMA regulations here, but I think that I can say, but it's clear. It's a little bit the positioning, of course, of SAIF and SAIF Invest, and also all the data found ground. We have also the data measurement and management, and we think that is for us, of course, an interesting base where to really go one step further on in Series A, seed Series A, Series B, impact in funding, and what I can say for sure, the pipeline is not a problem for us. That's really not a problem for us. Yes, that's from my side, and now I'm looking forward to remarks, questions. Maybe you see it completely another way and you don't agree. And yes, maybe you have really interesting experiences on your side. So I'm really happy to listen to you and have discussions.
Siona has raised her hand, Barbara has raised her hand. So Siona, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Yep, thank you, Edith and Mariana, for this very helpful presentation. I have to say I agree with everything you said, Mariana, so no disagreements there. I have background in public markets or public equities, so what interests me most is, your view on that, because I question that in the studies that I'm doing, that or with people that I talk, whether there is really an impact in the public equity space, and how. So this slide about ABC, about the three categories of impact within the public markets, or the ESG funds, is very, very interesting. I just would like to know your take on you know, you're also talking about listed equities impact measurement, or, you know, whether they are impact aligned or not. Would you consider them impact investments from your point of view, you know, this B and C category, or is it really
I think
yeah,
it's difficult. I think it's towards C. Yes, it's towards C. I can say at the moment we are you know, supporting I can say a pension fund who really want to move from B to C, and in this, you know, in this special case, of course, we do all but that's, you know, a single case. Of course, we should support them, and, you know, now build the theory of change and everything, and set in place all the measurement. I think there we can truly speak of impact investing. But of course, when you do the rating, that's a different, you're on a different level. And so we say you are a little bit cautious. We are maybe not so aggressive. You say impact aligned, but and really it's, and yeah, sometimes maybe sometimes really I think we should be more aggressive. But when we discuss our concept, and for example, when I compare it, even larger banks to say what they are doing, and they call it already impact investing funds, and then I would say, okay, no, but it's not. Then our approach is better. So that's, but it's for me, it's a really interesting field, because as I said, you know, when I also discuss it with colleagues, with other experts, sometimes when maybe larger companies, and how they call it impact investing on the fund level, and how they mix it up to it's really sometimes a little bit crazy. So that's it's not structure, it's just they mix a little bit MSC data and everything else, and that's the magic sauce. So now that's yeah, I don't know, it's maybe partially an answer, but I think maybe a part of the answer is still open. I think we have to work on it.
Thank you, Siona, for asking the question. Thank you, Mariana, for your answer. Barbara Lacara, please go ahead. You're next.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Mariana, for the beautiful presentation. Good to see you back here. I agree with all the presentation and all where the field is going, because it's exactly what is needed. And I like the measures because they provide such a compound way to talk about impact, and also alongside the benefit for the business. So I think that creates a very focused way to assess impact and to communicate it. And I really have a huge fan of measurement, impact measurement, for the sake of also monitoring whether you're walking the talk, you're achieving the goals that you intended to achieve, not only to communicate externally for fundraising. Just a suggestion, a couple of suggestions. One is whether it's a plan of SAIF maybe to use the beautiful comparison among companies and within the same target of targeted SDGs, also for supporting impact-driven companies. Maybe it would be nice to see, I would be interested to see a comparison between companies that are targeting explicitly impact and companies that are targeting the same target audience or having similar products, but they are not calling themselves impact-oriented, or they don't know yet they're impact-oriented. In that way, by showing how impact-oriented companies outplay maybe the other, it will be a big booster and support, access support for SAIF to enhance and promote or accelerate the diffusion of impact startups or companies. But then the tricky question is, by looking at the data, you said there was a slight decrease in terms of percentage of applicants in the impact award in Switzerland. And thanks to you, there's been a huge development in the Swiss impact ecosystem since 2011. So I'm withstanding and different how different startup competitions have evolved over time. There's a huge and higher focus on green tech or environmental impact particularly. So do you think is this slight drop in application is also due to that? and what is your position against other approaches to impact investing, like something that Jova is doing, like impact equity instead of investing on funds? I'm happy to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barbara. The development you said, I think I would not, it's maybe 8%. Of course, I'm sure it's, you mentioned it, and that makes us happy, you know, that's more competition, differentiation, and also support programs are in the field. That's absolutely great. But to be honest, we don't worry a lot about that. It's too small, the number, and it's the evidence is not so yeah, but it's of course that's true. To Jova, that's a completely other approach, and I'm really happy. And of course, I know the Jova guys, and they make great work. But it's a completely different field. So that's I think yes, that's really that's not the same target groups. It's not the same customer group, and I think it's great what they are doing. And that's a little bit I think a different field. And the first point you mentioned, Barbara, that's completely clear. Of course, that's the more data we have, and we have at the moment in the database, we have a lot of more startups or pitch deck we can assess. The more we have, of course, the more interesting is the comparison. That's clear, and we have a huge potential there. And there we are currently a lot. We invest a lot from our internal work to build up that database. And I think now we are at the point we have, as I said in the presentation, we have now to that's the next step. I think this year we have to code everything, and then of course I think we can really have a very interesting support program services and everything. Yes.
Thank you so much for asking the questions, Barbara, for your answer, Mariana. For everybody who doesn't know Jova, Jova is a fintech company which is focusing on listed equities and having a positive impact. So that's the difference, of course, between impact investments the way Mariana is doing it. Barbara Schlagbauer, you raise your hand and lower your hand. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, actually, I wanted to ask the same question about Jova, right? I mean, I was just, I just wanted to get your advice. What would you say if somebody wants to invest in impact investing? Because your approach is obviously a different one, and it's more an angel investing approach. But if you're on a personal level, say, hey, I want to do something good, I want to go for impact investing, what would you recommend? I mean, I know you understand their approach, right? So,
yes,
or is any other? Yes, there is so many impact investing funds around, right?
Of course, yeah, completely clear. That's completely clear. Yeah, I think, of course, we have. I would say we have more an impact VC approach, angel family of impact VC approach. That's clear, and I think it's not. That's great. And we have different options, and of course, I think especially what is, let's say, for people who are not so on the wealthy side, and nevertheless they want to invest part of their wealth, of their money. And that's an option they have with Jova, and it wasn't possible before. So I think, and of course, I think I would assume that the challenge of Jova is that's more a little bit mass market, you could say, and that's scaling is the great challenge for them. I would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, Barbara. I think that there's a huge difference between investing in listed equities and investing in impact.
Exactly.
Like private equities. That's of course a different ballgame. If you don't have that much wealth, of course, Jova is the more easy alternative in listed equities. So thanks for asking the question. The next person who raised their hand, we have 2 more questions to go, Mariana, at this point. Rahel Gerber, please ask your question. Feel free.
Hi, Mariana. Hi, Edith. Thank you very much. So my question is related to data. I like your approach very much, and you're trailblazing the impact way in Switzerland, I guess. So what I always struggle with is the actual data. So the comparison between ventures, that I really understand. but getting actual data and for example, on CO2, on biodiversity, and really have sound data that makes sense. And quickly it gets very complex, right? So how do you deal with that? That's something I feel a lot of people in this world, in this impact world, are struggling with.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it depends very much on the depth. So we do the analysis, of course, the assessment. That's the first step. That's clear. And I think for us that would be really in the deep dive when we do the impact report. And of course we have a lot of discussions. To be honest, that's with all topics. But I think that's interesting. And yes, I had just yesterday an interesting discussion with Oliver from former Carbon Delta. That is, and it's. I think for me it's important that we really take it seriously, that we try it on a structured and professional way. And of course we have to learn. And when you compare it to the financial world, it seems everything is so crystal clear. You see this number, but hey, the validation or valuation of something, it can. And I learned yesterday that's, for example, completely different when you have it in Europe, compare it to US, and that the same company is a completely different financial numbers because the system is different. Oh, what seems so crystal clear, maybe on the first view, is when you have a deeper look, it's not so crystal clear. And I think, yes, that's, and the impact management and measurement, that's not so. We have maybe 10 years, something like that, build up. And I think we have a lot to solve. And, all the financial instruments, we have it in place maybe 100 or 150 years, and still it's not, sometimes we think, or maybe I think, okay, these numbers are, but it's not true. When you have a closer look, it's complex. So, or for example, I don't know the word in English, abschreiben. What does it mean? Distracting, or
maybe to copy?
Write off.
Yeah, that's for example, it's according to the rules of the country. It can you have a huge gap. So that's so that's a little bit an answer. But yes, of course, it is a challenge, right?
Thank you, Rahel, for posing the question. The last question for today goes to Maria. Please, Maria, feel free to speak up.
Oh, I thought it was 1 o'clock already, but since I'm on it, Mariana, let me start my video so I can see you. So I don't know if you're going to have time to explore it, but can you elaborate a little bit more when you talked about potential impact? You had a graph, you had a slide, public companies, the ESG rating, and your analysis to over it. Then you talked about, there's some companies that have potential impact. What is it, potential impact? And how do you trigger that? How do you explore that within a company?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't think we have time. If we don't,
yes.
I don't know. Edith, you're on the lead here.
Everybody who has time to stay on, please stay on. If you want to hear the answer, if you need to leave, then please feel free to leave. I would love to hear the answer on Maria's question. So feel free to begin or out, whatever you prefer. We'll do the official closing after the answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yes, of course, you may be, as I said, we are in the testing phase, so maybe you understand that I don't want to show more details what we have in the background, but okay. What's important, that when we are, what we really can do, we are experienced and we can assess ventures in the growth and scaling phase. And basically that's in this phase, it's a lot also about future potential. And there, of course, we have a little bit, of course, we adapted and everything. And so, but there, we speak also about the potential. We don't, ESG, is focusing, on today and on the CSR data or all it's published, it's out there, or the company is publishing it, and we are looking more in the future in the potential. So we do say impact potential, and I think that's, and we don't want, because impact washing or greenwashing, that is for me really not it's a threat. And so we don't, at least at the moment, we don't want to speak about impact investing. And it's really, we say impact aligned or impact potential. And we have to, as I said, we have to test it with the next 50 companies. And then we can say more. Really, then I think we have the MVP on the, but it's interesting. And I think anyway, whether we will be successful and go further on this journey. But anyway, I think it's important, and I think it's important that also players are really in this field and really go into these challenges, which are really in the heart of impact investing, and not just a little bit blah, 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 greenwashing and on the surface.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Thank you. And thank you, Maria, for posing the question. We have one comment from Daniela Cox, who says, I agree about the importance of accurate data, mostly about the importance taken with the, I would say, representation and participation from local communities engaged in biodiversity conservation and standing in the front line facing climate change. So I think we all agree with that, Daniela. And thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. From Women in Sustainable Finance, first I would like to thank Mariana for being here and this absolutely inspiring insight into impact investments. You as audience, I said in the beginning, I'm going to say it again, thank you so much for being here, for making us work valuable, because if nobody would be listening, it would not be valuable. You support us in our vision and in our purpose, and that makes us really, really grateful. Our next event is going to be on the 29th of June with Vandana Reiner, and she's going to speak about a different topic, but also I personally think it's a very interesting topic on the protection of the Arctic Ocean. Thank you all for being here. I wish you all a great lunch, enjoy it, and I hope to see all of you hopefully in person soon, and otherwise also in our next webinar, 29th of June. Mariana, thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights. I wish you all a nice lunch.
Yeah. Thank you, Edith.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to all of you. Bye-bye. Ich rufe dich nachher noch kurz an, Mariana. Ist okay?
Ja, ist gut.
Okay, danke dir. Schön, bis nachher.